Hi guys, welcome back to Trainz Railroad Simulator. Trainz with a Z. Today we're going to be taking a look at the latest bandwagon. But seriously, we're going to be taking a look at Coal Country 2.0 from Jointed Rail. This is the latest and greatest from Jointed Rail. This is the latest and greatest trend across all of social media. If you have social media at all and you follow Train Simulator at all on any of them, chances are you've seen a few hundred people posting a few hundred photos of Coal Country 2.0 lately. It is the thing. And I'll admit, I got it pretty much the hour it released, because I was watching too. I looked forward to it. And I did try to do a video on it before all this really blew up. Unfortunately, I've had multiple problems, and I have been working. I finally started working. So I just haven't had the time. And then once I had the breathing moment, it was like, oh gosh, everybody and their mother is drowning the world with it. I don't want to be that guy too, but hopefully I've broken it up a little bit and made things kind of more interesting, because today I'm going to be looking at both Coal Countries side by side. I'm going to look at Coal Country 1 and Coal Country 2. Kind of see what's different, what's changed, what's upgraded. And go from there. See what all Coal Country 2.0 has to offer us. Yeah. So let's hop over here to somewhere right here, Jointed Rail. Chances are everybody just paused my video at that. So what's he looking up? I was trying to figure out how to make my videos record to a different hard drive, because my original terabyte hard drive on my computer as it was built is full. And what's sad is there's no games on it. There's not a single game on my original hard drive. It is all computer updates. Literally a full terabyte. Nothing but computer updates. Now granted, my computer is 5-ish years old, somewhere around that area. So it's pretty dated by modern computer standards, but still, I think it's kind of excessive that it's a terabyte worth of updates and such for basic crap like core computer files and Internet Explorer. Steam by itself, no games. All just updates to that, over a terabyte. That's wild to me, but such is life. So that's what I was trying to do. I have tried to make this video like 5 times now, and could not for the life of me figure out why in the world I could not, I couldn't get maybe 45 minutes into the video without it ending the video automatically and then saying that my storage was full, and I could not figure out what to do about it. I have deleted everything I could think of, and I still only have like a grand total of 35 gigabytes left on my terabyte hard drive. There's nothing on it except for core computer programs that are needed. So, but I had to figure out how to get NVIDIA to record and save to one of my externals. Figured it out. Now we should be good to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and give a fair warning. 5 times in a row now, this video's gone long past 45 minutes. So this is gonna be a long video today. There's a lot to cover. There's a lot going on. Especially with doing the comparison side by side. So anyway, it is a Jointed Rail product. You pick it up from Jointed Rail. It is payware. It's not freeware, so you do have to have a Jointed Rail account. You do have to pay for it. I don't remember how much it was. I'm not logged into Jointed Rail right now, but coming down in the description, Coal Country 2.0 expands significantly on the original route. Can attest to that. It certainly does. Lots more scenes, detail, and industry with around 25 miles of trackage through the Rust Belt for TS19 and up. You're going to explore twisting branch and regional fictional railroad based around the coal-rich states of West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Maryland. It really kind of fits just about anywhere in the Northeast. That's, you know, a major coal production area. You can get away with just about any railroad from the Northeast. Now, go ahead and give it credit where it's due. Coal Country 2.0 is very much kind of a modern-esque setup. It has a very modern look to it. So if you're aiming for that classic steam or early diesel era, you're gonna look a little out of place. Not wildly noticeable, but it's definitely noticeable. You'll see what I mean when we dive into it, because there's a lot of like modern looks to it that fit more of a modern railroad. So things like Amtrak, CSX, Norfolk Southern, those will fit in real nice. If you're aiming for like New York Central, you might look a little bit out of place. The route is managed by the Richmond, Peabody, and Parker Railroad, with the primary source of revenue being coal. Nothing new there. That's always been kind of the thing. Employees also volunteered their time to run a special tourist train on weekends. Boy, those are some phenomenal employees that really like playing with trains, because, not gonna lie, after I work a full week, I ain't going to the airport to play around with airplanes on the weekend, too. But, you know, to each their own. Be sure to check out a Steam add-on available from K&L. We have already looked at the steam locomotive that K&L produced. Definitely go check that video out, as well as the locomotive from K&L Trainz. Gonna get new route. Now this is an entirely new route. It does not overwrite Coal Country 1.0, so if you bought the original Coal Country, either from Jointed Rail or on Steam or came with your Trainz, whatever, it will not overwrite that route. You will still get access to that route, as we'll see in a minute, because I had it pulled up at the same time. You're going to get a new SD40-2, a new B20-8, and a patched B20-8, new trackage and scenery. The rest of this we've already seen. Coal hoppers, scrap gondolas, those two are new. The log cars, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure those are available under their freeware, possibly. I don't think the log cars are new. They're definitely not RP lettered. The coaches already had on the original route. The shelving platform, transfer caboose, GP9s and 18s, all that was part of the original route. So as far as like rolling stock and locomotive content go, you're not getting a ton that's new. You're getting enough to kind of refresh the look, though. So, you know, not to downplay any of it, but that's just kind of my take on it. You know, it's just enough to refresh it, not enough to go, wow, this is all new. So bear that in mind. And now that we have dove through the jointed rail part, let's get to the actual route. So, Coal Country 2.0, it does include the original portion of the route starting in Richmond. Yeah, my brain took a crap for a second. But starting in Richmond, it does still include that original main right here, Richmond, Peabody, Parker. Come on, there we go. So we got Richmond, Peabody, and I think I'm looking at it sideways, Parker. But as you can see, a lot has been added. Route is vastly expanded. Original route. New route. And truth be told, no stone's been unturned. Most of the route has been upgraded, enhanced, changed up, modified. But you can still look at it and see where the original route's core base is. You can still see kind of that same track setup in here, that same little town, just to point out a few things. But somebody that either A, didn't own the original Coal Country, maybe they're just getting into Trainz, if they just got Coal Country 2.0 right now, probably wouldn't recognize, because it's vastly different. So let's pull up the original here. Hop into Richmond. Richmond's kind of our beginning of operations here. This is where the locomotive sheds are, the company's based out of ish, like per kind of the lore, and it still is. But the locomotive servicing facility is way larger, much more detailed, much more in depth. We have a turntable with some storage tracks, servicing sheds, servicing stands and such, fueling, refuel, sand, all the fun bells and whistles needed to keep up a short line railroad. So all of that is included. And it does have steam locomotive facilities, or servicing, I should say, at various points along the route, such as water towers. Because a steam locomotive was made by K&L Trainz hand in hand with jointed rail specifically for this route. So you can, operate steam locomotives. I kind of gear it more towards heritage operations, though. Given the new-esque era look that the entire route really aims for. I mean, none of the rolling stock is something you would see when steam locomotives were still operational. B20s, chop nose, GP9s, and whatnot. You never see that next to a regularly in-service operating steam locomotive on a regular basis in the real world. So steam locomotives are kind of geared more towards heritage operations, which we have one set up for giggles and squiggles, but vastly different. Now, I will go ahead and throw out, there is one complaint I have right off the bat, and it is the complete, utter lack of markings for a lot of this industries. The yards are marked. The locomotive shops are kind of marked here, but what goes over here? We have a slag marking, which I don't understand why they marked the slag and literally nothing else of this industry, but you can kind of guess what is what by what is sitting outside as far as like the scenery goes, but it's still like it's hard to set up AI to do anything if there's no markings for the AI to go to. So bear that in mind. If you're somebody that likes to have a lot of AI running around on the map, maybe doing some switching, maybe just operating point A to point B, you're probably going to have to set up route markers, because Jointed Rail didn't do a particularly phenomenal job with their route markings. Now that is one of the very few complaints I have with this route, but it is a notable complaint. It is, I don't understand. It's a trend I kind of see with a lot of the newer routes coming out for Trainz, though. Nobody marks their route, so you have no idea what an industry is for, what goes where, and it's hard to set up AI. But that complaint aside, they have a big old industry added to Richmond. Locomotive shop's been changed up, the yard's been changed up, the main line itself has been completely moved. So whereas the main line used to be over here and then extended off into the unknowns, it's been moved over to the opposite side of the yard and extends off into the unknowns, and does have a little bit of industry added back here. Like, it's been extended a little bit before it ends off into the servicing unknowns area here. Which actually makes it relatively easy to expand off of if one wanted to. It's kind of cool. There's various abandoned industries and whatnot along the road that look really cool. Just kind of fit the picture perfect look. And what this route captures that I think the original route doesn't is there's a lot of point A, point B that can be accomplished now. See, the original route is very, very, very scenic. It's awesome for scenes. But point A, point B, load, unload, switching, it's really not the focus of the original route. Whereas here, you can go load coal and take it, say, over here to a transfer spot and unload it to the barges over here in the river and swap those cars out, take another load or take another empty set up to another mine or the same mine or whatever. You can have something like that going on, point A, point B, load, unload, and never end up off the map. So that's pretty cool. And I do kind of wish that, given that this is like part of the route here and this is part of like your active industry, I kind of wish they would have filled in the other riverbank here that's really noticeable. And B, I wish that they had taken one more square. Just added one more square, pushed it off to kind of blend off into the unknown regions instead of just abruptly stopping. That's just me. It's not like not a detrimental thing, but the noticeable scenery gap in the across river there is kind of not a fan of that. But overall, the scenery detailing is still really, really nice. The texturing and the color palette's really nice. Coloring all along the route really fits, I think. Now back here where the original route goes off into the nothingness, the new route actually goes off into a branch line. Now we're not going to follow that just yet because we're still doing a side-by-side comparison. So Richmond versus the original route, Richmond. Very short distance off into the unknowns for the staging yard back there. So continuing along, we do have the we still have this split. So leaving Richmond, kind of back up a little bit. Leaving Richmond here, we do still have the same split that the original route does, where you have a kind of a branch line. The main line goes off to the right. Branch line goes off to the left up to the Richmond tipple here. That is still included. The basic track setup is still the same. The industry itself, however, has been very noticeably improved on. Let's see if I can change the lighting here to be a little bit more conducive. For the drive, pause. Get rid of some stuff here. Maybe it'll make it a little bit quicker. There we go. Yeah, matter of fact, the lighting really shows the difference in detail that's been done so far. The mine up here has kind of been filled in a little more. Some of the details have changed, been swapped out for different assets. The track layout has been changed a little bit. The yard here and the loading has been changed out a little bit. I say it a little bit like it was nothing, but it's now a 3-track yard right here instead of this kind of short 2-track thing going on here with a siding here. Kitty cat, I didn't need you up here, but whatever. Now, one big noticeable difference leaving is we have a branch on a branch. So the branch going up to the mine here actually has a branch going off to the left, which is set up to look like an abandoned-ish or really lightly used line. It's not as well detailed as the rest of the route, as much as I would like it to be, because it makes for a really fun scene. Like having an old rusty steam locomotive with some old rusty coaches coming across here for like the weekend trips or something would look absolutely in place. Like a really recently revived, like, I don't know, the East Broad Top. Everybody's all over their East Broad Top lately. There's a lot of scenes like this all over the East Broad Top Railroad. Yet it still pulls, active passenger trains today. So I do kind of wish that they had filled in just a little more, maybe played with the color a little bit more, because there's a lot of spots on here that just kind of, all this here doesn't look particularly phenomenal. It just kind of looks like track laid out and nothing more was done. But that is a notable change. We'll look more into in a minute where it goes and why it goes. So anyway, continuing along, you'll notice the roads definitely look better, and a lot of like the crossings and whatnot, they're no longer this these inanimate objects. They're now proper crossings. Let's see where we're at right here. Or they're now, like, I say proper, they're the animated ones are proper, but these are like lighted, blinking, animated. So things like that have been changed out. Roadways been changed up in various places. Not to say that on the original doesn't look great. It looks definitely improved. Take note, Train Simulator Classic. This is what an enhancement looks like. I'm going to step on some toes with that one, but looking at you, Feather River Canyon, that was such a disgrace. It's enhanced. Pray tell, how? If I can't immediately look at it and see a vast difference like this, like between these two, that's not an enhancement. If you're not looking at it and going, wow, that looks way better, wildly upgraded, you didn't do anything. So anyway, that little rant going, just kind of a side stop, but here we are at Peabody. Peabody is one of those places where the track work's been changed up, industry's been changed up. So Peabody lumber here is very different. So here's the original Peabody lumber. Kind of a spot where one would pick up center beam car loads would be a fitting item for here. And that got changed to wood chips. So the entirety of the Peabody lumber industry here has been completely changed up. Lumber comes in by truck now, which I kind of have a mixed opinion about, because it kind of warrants a particular industry worthless that we'll see later. Like, it just kind of takes away the point in that industry, but it's not something I can't go in and expand on later to make it make use or make sense. But for the time being, just as it sits, it doesn't entirely make sense. But it looks pretty good. I believe it's functional. Yeah, it's got the wood chip loaders under here. It's got 2 tracks. Good for road switching and whatnot. Bring in some empties, pull the loaded out. So that is one thing that is notable that has changed. But hey, we still got the little farm out here. Recognizable scene. The houses have changed up. I won't lie, I kind of like this house better. That's just me. I like the house better. The background makes more sense though in the new one. This makes more sense back here. Whoops. We went too far. So continuing along, here we are on the original route. So the town here is still present. Still pretty much set up the same way. Nothing wild going on here. Except for, I don't know what's going on with this building, but it looks terrible. Oh no. Is that going on in the original route? No, it's not. Oh, that's a funny one. New versus old. One of these things does not look correct. So, that is something that I do know. With my personal download, I downloaded Coal Country. I know there was a bunch of faulty assets that came up. Case in point, there's one of them. Bear that in mind. Continuing along. Again, basic track work kind of stays the same. Basic little town here is still here. It definitely looks better in the new one though. Looks a little more filled in. But still recognizable. Might just be the coloring that makes it look better. I don't know. But it looks a little more filled in. Some things have changed. Again, basic track work is still the same. We still have the little pull-off siding here with the flag stop. But the flag stop is moved down to here with a full-blown platform. It looks to not be used much, if ever. But it is still there. And instead over here, we still have the storage hopper up on stilts. But we have a scale that's been added. A functioning scale, too, which is kind of cool. And then the scrap industry now has its own connection to the railroad, where the original does not. So it's another industry that we have now to play with and kind of give us some more operational abilities. So that's pretty cool. Pretty nice. Continuing along. Our next notable scene is where things split. So here's one scene that's going to look different along the original main. It's a nice big tall bridge going across it. That's part of a branch line we'll take a look at in a minute. But we still have the same branch here. The route still splits off. We still have this same old kind of abandoned track with the collapsing bridge here. That scene is still here. What gets really different is as we continue up the branch here. Here we have Gilbert's Tipple. Here we do not have Gilbert's Tipple. So Gilbert's Tipple has been completely done away with in favor of going up a little further into the mountains and then splitting two different directions. We have a runaround track, runaround siding here, and then we have Romney Tipple, and we have Elbert Tipple. So a couple more coal industries, kind of smaller, that have been added in. They are functional, but they're not quite the big, giant operating industry that a couple of the other ones are. Yeah, they look pretty good. Same over here, splits off. Now one thing I will note is they didn't use very many characters. Kind of sad about that. I wish they would have. It's an ever common theme with Trainz routes, though. It's an ever common theme with Train Simulator routes as a whole. Nobody ever seems to like fill them in with characters and whatnot to make them look alive. Routes just kind of look barren without some animals out in the woods here, there, and everywhere. Maybe some birds flying around. Maybe some people, some kids playing at a park. You know, something to make the route look a little more alive with some beings, some living beings. I do like the ambient noise, though. The ambient noise in route is really nice. It's done quite well. I like it. Anyway, continuing along away from Gilbert's Tipple. So on the original line, we still got our little tunnel here. One of those tunnel spots on the route. Still looks pretty good. Still there. Still got the river. On the original route, we're coming up to the end of the route. So here's Parker. Parker's the kind of the point B of the original route. Parker has its own little mine. Parker has a train station. And Parker has a separate little branch here that goes off into the woods up here to the Parker Lumber Company. Parker Logging. Now, on the original route, it makes sense to pick up Parker logs here at Parker and take them to Peabody Lumber Company, right? Unload them there and then pick up lumber products. Unfortunately, as we'll see in a minute, that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. But this is Parker as we know it. Track still splits, but Parker changes immediately around the corner. So here's our corner here. Here's the old corner. Noticeably different. Mostly the scenery has changed up a lot. The track work itself, the basic track layout is definitely still much the same. This track here has been expanded back to here. It's been stretched out. That's I don't know why I keep going to YouTube or Google. But that's a noticeable thing that's been added on, kind of a storage track or whatever. But the mine is still there. The loading mine, the track and whatnot is still there. Still functional. So this right here is where the big noticeable change happens. Here's that SD40 that I didn't get to take a look at a minute ago. Pretty typical SD40-2 in RPMP colors. Continuing along. Again, basic details and whatnot have been enhanced and upgraded. They look better. They did away with the billboard trees. Thank goodness. That's like a big thing for me. This 2020, well now 2025. Get rid of the billboard trees. Billboard trees are great for really distant scenery, like up on top of the mountain where you really just need something to kind of fill in. But as you can see, I'm still getting still averaging 20-ish frames a second with all of these 3D trees. And I have 2 instances of the game running at the same time, so we're long past the era of 2D trees. That is a nice detail to notice. They did away with a lot of these billboard trees. And then enhanced on the mine itself. Mine actually has a conveyor going all the way up. Some noticeable things weren't touched. Kind of wish they were. I wish they'd swap out for something a little newer. The square bulldozer being one of them. You know, some of these assets could stand to go away and be swapped out for something newer. But credit where it's due. It still looks vastly different. It still looks a lot better than the newer one. Definitely noticeable. Now here's where things change up a lot again. So, train station, branch. Train station, branch, Y. So a Y has been added here to run around the trains. Now, it is a bit inconvenient. It can make for some interesting operations, but as we'll see in a minute, you could set it up for a passenger train or a through train to be able to run all the way through here. But if you're aiming for like the passenger trains to be able to like start over there in Richmond, go to Parker, and then make its way up here to, as we'll see in a minute, Lefroy, you would think you would run all the way through here and then take the branch line, right? So why not expand the station here, get rid of some of the junk here, and make like this whole area kind of part of the train station, so that the train can stop here or here depending on which direction you're going. That's just kind of my thought. Again, it's not like it's not functional as it is right now. It still looks pretty good. That's just kind of one of those things where it's like, doesn't entirely make a lot of sense. But again, still looks pretty good. Definitely a noticeable upgrade. Scenery has been filled in places or swapped around other places, changed out. Definitely a noticeable difference. And then it can continue. The loader over here, leaving Parker. That is not here on the original. So Parker goes from a 3-track to a single track. Pretty quickly ends up going on and off into the unknown regions for the staging yards and whatnot. So this is kind of the end of the line. For the new version though, the mountain does still kind of do the same thing where the end of the line comes out here, but instead of merging into a single track, stays as a double track for a little bit farther. Still kind of retains the same curve setup and whatnot, but instead of wrapping around the mountain up here to the very end, right there, and going off into the unknowns, it continues. So it still goes off into the unknowns, pretty much in the same place too. It just wraps up and around and then ends up in the unknown regions. Why, I don't know entirely, like the reasoning behind it, but it does provide for some cool scenery. So if I were to guess, I would say that's kind of the point. Is it gives you another place that's kind of fun for a fun scene, a cool scene. Like sitting up here, you watch a train come out, boogie and boogie around. A spot like this where an old Eagle River asset was used. This whole area here, all new. So, just not really a necessary point to it, but it does add to the scene selection for those that are really good at, you know, screenshots and whatnot, taking real quality screenshots, setting up cool scenes and whatnot. Another fun spot right there. Matter of fact, it's not half bad right here. Yeah, just kind of an improvement on the way out of Parker into the unknowns before, you know, you end up into Parker. And that is route to route comparison. That is side by side. Now's where things change up. So now we can kind of forget Coal Country 1 and go into Coal Country 2 and stay into it, because now is where things change up. So the Parker branch here is still here. The lumber industry is still here. It's still not serviceable though, which kind of irks me. It has been changed up a little bit. Personally, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like the Coal Country 1 better. Like, I don't mind the road here. This I didn't see a point in. I prefer the log usage a little bit more in the Coal Country 1. I like the truck better. You know, there's little things like that that I think made the Coal Country 1 look a little better. Still looks pretty good for what it is, but this whole scene looks, in my opinion, a little bit better in the original. But in the new one, I have this one. It is not set up as a functioning industry, unfortunately. Some of the scenery and whatnot has been changed, but it continues as a branch. Up here to another mine. Well, actually more of a transfer spot than a mine. Trucks come over here, unload, and it gets transferred to the train. Whether or not it's meant to be functional, I'm going to assume not, judging by kind of the overgrowth and whatnot. However, it is listed as functional. I haven't got to try it yet. I haven't tried all the industries as physically functioning industries. But as you can see, all the log cars are kept back here, which is kind of an odd choice. But, you know, whatever. That's just how they have it set up. Track is rusty going off to the left, so I assume that this is meant to be like not used very often. And then the actual main branch line continues. You're ridiculous, fat cat. Kind of a fun little town over here. One of those nice scenes, crossing a bridge. I'm not fond of their choice in bridge pillar though. The coloring on that bridge pillar does not match. It does not mesh well with the palette choice on anything else. They're very bright, shiny. Got a little center beam here that's derailed and ended up off into the river there. It's kind of cool. Another fun scene. And it continues. Lots of fun scenes like this all over the route. Gosh, I love the ambient. The ambient's really good in this one. Comes out into Lefroy. So Lefroy is another one of those point B places. So if you've loaded coal, you can take it here to the Lefroy Power and Light Company and unload that coal. So it's got a nice storage track back here for loaded and unloaded coal cars. Long stretch. But it's got kind of storage back here. It's a 2-track main. It's another one of those spots where On either end of Lefroy, it is goes off into the unknown regions, but it is a loop, so you can have kind of a big, heavy, long mainline train running either direction constantly, just kind of to give a little life to the route if it floats your boat. But as you can see, into the unknown regions, one end of Lefroy. Still got some cool scenes though, like leaving Lefroy here. It looks like the railroad used to come out and around, and they opted to change for the 2-track to blast straight through the mountain. It's kind of a cool thing. Now, thanks to the tunnels, you're probably not running intermodals. Probably not running container trains through here, but yeah. The idea is coal, so coal trains are the focus. This is Lefroy. Quite the fun scene. Nice big interchange yard here. And then another kind of locomotives servicing, not really servicing, more like storage. So here's the patched B20s. And it actually still contains a coal tipple, coaling tower for steam locomotives. So I stick the K&L locomotive over here because we got water, we got coal, load, unload for the coal. Just kind of made sense. So I stick the big K&L locomotive over here, and the little Reading 040, the Camelback from K&L fits in so nicely over here. It's such a fun little spot for it. But again, scenery really fun. Whole setup's really fun. Now the train station for Lefroy is a bit odd. It's way back here. Scenery is actually really fun. It's got kind of this museum-esque setup, which is really cool. It's got kind of this little railroad park here with a mine train display, a Peabody hopper, and the transfer caboose, a mine bucket loader, the actual train station. Matter of fact, this really kind of fits that West Virginia look. Look at the lettering. That lettering looks wacky. Maybe it's just the fact that it's very clean and white, but and it continues. Nicely detailed all the way through this continuation, but it does continue. Fun gas station. See, that's one of those spots where I think, could have stood to have, somebody standing outside watching a train go by or something. Characters would have helped. Then it goes off into the unknowns for staging, run around, and whatever one may want. If you're running a through passenger train and you're planning to stop at Lefroy, you'll have to run all the way down there and turn around, or you'll come in and have it set up to back all the way up to back here, and then our connecting branch. So back here, we got our yard and whatnot, kind of our little transfer yard and such, and then it splits off. And our branch line continues. Branch line ends up here. Well, it doesn't end, it continues, but actual industries for Lefroy, we end up here at Bledsoe, I believe is what they're aiming at. Nice big coal mine. Got some storage, some kind of abandoned tracks. Here's a fun scene. New K&L asset, an abandoned locomotive. Looks like the old CN060. Still think it'd be awesome if K&L would do a whole pack of these abandoned steam locomotives. Just for this reason. Just have various steam locomotives and whatnot to use as junk models and such. Because the abandonware on Trainz is old, to say the least. But anyway, got a whole coaling industry over here. Pretty neat. Does look to be functional. Cotton balls! The branch line itself continues. All these fun scenes. And then remember, leaving Richmond, I told you there was a little bit of a different scene with the bridge, big old spanning bridge going across it. Oh, here's that branch. Here's a fun scene immediately popping out of the tunnel. Boy, if you ain't paying attention. Getting nailed by a train on your way out. What a fun scene nonetheless. Seems like a really low bridge right here. Maybe I'm just crazy. Clearance on that bridge leaves really low. Truckers are gonna have to watch it. It continues. Boogieing and boogieing, boogieing and again. Some fun tunnels. Here's some abandoned houses over here. Kind of cool. This is a cool one. Like an old rail trail here. It's even done up in white like the abandoned railroad over there, but it looks like an abandoned rail trail. There's a tower over here. It's still got a got the light here. Old railroad crossing sign. Just something different that they added. Something pretty common that you would see like in Maryland. It's a pretty common thing. Seeing these rail trails all over. Really adds to the scene, especially for the modern feel. Pretty common seeing these rail trails, so that goes along nicely. It would be nice to have like I don't know, bicyclists going across up here. Some people, once again, no characters. There's no characters along the route, but it continues, splits into a twin. It's kind of a fun spot on the rail trail. I would see an old caboose. See, I like the people right here. It makes sense. It kind of gives us a little something. Got a little placard here, maybe telling the history of the caboose, history of the area. Love scenes like that. Those are fun. Continues. And wham bam. Hell. So if we go one way from here in Kel, we continue and we go to the left, we end up at that abandoned-ish branch line here that I showed you guys earlier in the video. And then a big old active mine over here. At least I believe it's active. It looks active. Track's a little overgrown, but I assume that there's supposed to be some hoppers that'll load in eventually. Anyway, we got a mine over here, and then that abandoned branch that I showed you guys. Or, we can boogie bomb up here. And we have this twin track main here. That continues, crosses the bridge. It's a little bit of an industry down here. Doesn't look active anymore, but it is there. Log car stored over here. Don't know why. I'm just on the scenario that has the set up for free roam. It's kind of free play, but for the rail trail, that abandoned rail trail, here's where the railroad would have split, gone off that way. That's pretty cool. You know, this kind of thing I enjoy. I like it a lot. I think it looks cool. Makes it look different, but not really sure why the log cars are over here. You have this little industry down here. It is still attached. It's still functional. It does use rusted rail, like it's maybe no longer in use or very lightly in use. So kind of different though. Kind of cool. Maybe you park scrap cars down here, load scrap it, and then it continues up and around. Kind of a horseshoe curve area. Train wreck. It's kind of a fun scene. Sit up here. Set up the camera to sit here. You got the mountains in the distance. You have a train coming around. Matter of fact, one thing I found that fits in really, really well on this route is the Reading and the Reading, Blue Mountain, Northern, RBM. That equipment fits in so well. I tried to use the Lake Erie and Eastern LE and yeah, LE and E, I believe is what it is. It's the fictional thing from Trainz Forge. Yeah, a nice big 484, and it doesn't fit down these branch lines. I mean, it does per like Trainz modeling, but that locomotive doesn't fit at all. It's such a big. We got an old abandoned mine here. It looks pretty cool. Still got some of the track work left over here. Now, I wish some of these roads were functional roads. That would help a lot with the liveliness of the route, as if these roads were actual functioning AI roads that had cars that actually drove down them, pop up, move. Just kind of one of those things that, yeah, not all the roads have to be, but some of them, like this one, I think could stand to have some vehicles moving. Just to help, because once you get out here, it's just one of those things that starts to look a little quiet. And then these towns and whatnot, not having any vehicles moving around in these towns at all is just kind of meh. But we're back at Richmond. That little branch that runs off to the back behind Richmond here, if you follow it, ends up all the way at Lefroy. So you can pretty much run a long loop through the branch lines and whatnot. And you end up back here at Lefroy. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the entirety of the new Coal Country 2.0. In line with the usual, speeds along this route are pretty low, pretty slow, which is fine. It's not like a big 100-mile route or anything. And its route's still very much geared towards scenes. It's very obvious it's still geared towards scenes. It's still like one of the big primary focuses of the route. Obviously, industry can now be serviced point A, point B a lot more fluidly and a lot better than the original Coal Country is set up. but scenes are still like a big focus on this route. So it looks great. I mean, I think it looks great. Again, there's a lot of things here, there, and everywhere that I think could have been swapped out with something newer, or something could have been added in to make the route look a little more alive. Again, I still feel like a lot of these roads could have been upgraded to something that had AI cars running on them, because not a one of these roads are functioning. And you know, it's just one of those little things that would help give it life. You know, again, you don't have to do every single one of these roads, but some of these. I mean, come on, we got this road over here across the way. Why not have cars driving along over here? They don't have to turn anywhere. They don't have to go, you know, they just go off to the edge of the map, both directions. Spots like that. And then again, I feel like across the river here could have stood to been filled in a little better, because it looks like not much attention was paid to it. And I get that it's not a part of the route per se, like it's not part of the railroad, but it's pretty painfully obvious. It's pretty easy to see that, and it's pretty easy to tell the difference in detail level. So there's a lot of little things like that all along the route that I think stand to have been upgraded, or you know, a little more effort or work put into it. But and then the absolute lack of markers all over the route is frustrating. But as a whole, I like it. As a whole, it's a great looking route. It would be hard to pass this one up. Like, I honestly, even with a lot of the weird little things here, there, and everywhere, on the whole, this route is an absolute must-buy. Right? I highly recommend it. But one thing I had almost forgotten. Let's run through the rolling stock. Let's listen to the sounds on the rolling stock. So anyway, here's our B20. Not half bad. Interior. Hey, it actually has an interior. And the interior matches. Color me impressed. That's something that gets overlooked way too often in Trainz nowadays. So the interior actually looks pretty decent. 5939. Is that our actual locomotive number? 5939. It sure is. What do you know? So that's pretty neat. Cab doesn't look half bad. Whoops. Oh, I ended up over there. Let's see what kind of bells, buttons, and whistles we get on these. Enable editing. Go to the legacy. Headlights. Headlights look awesome. I love them. Cab lights, walkway lights, windows, cab doors, and visors. That's what we get with B20s. Now, in the editor, whenever you're setting up the scenario and you place these locomotives down, you can also change the skins on them. So you can pick different skins. I don't think it'll let me do it. Oh, it will. Nice, fresh and clean. A little bit dirty, a little bit dusty, a little bit used. A lot of it used. Cool. I like it. I think it's cool. So, it does have flashing ditch lights. I like it. I think they did a good job. So that's nice. Aw, balls. Boogie boogie down here. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna spend much time on these. Again, we've seen these before. I'm not really seeing anything necessarily new with these. routine. See what kind of details we get. Should be able to change skins. Sure can. Pretty cool. So you either get skin 1, which is the completely repainted, relatively fresh, clean. Skin 2, it's got some replacement parts on it, still in Conrail colors. Skin 3, still very much in Conrail colors in some parts. It's all dirty. So that's pretty cool. Display, what do we get? Cab lights, walkway lights, front and rear steps, front and rear door, or left and right doors. Front and rear doors. Bell. It's one of my favorite sounding bells. Alright. Above. Move to the GP9. Sound we've heard before. Nothing new there. Not a bad sound. It's just it's one that we've heard on plenty of jointed rail models. Bell. There. Which I don't expect it to be. Again, these are part of the old route. Same bells, buttons, whistles, people editing, skins, nice and dirty. What are we missing? Ah, right. The low nose Jeeps. Over here to this one, because this one's by itself. Low nose Jeep. That bell is barely audible. Horn sounds pretty good. Bell needs a drastic volume change. It's barely audible over everything. Let's see. Enable editing. Skins. Pretty neat. It's an old chop nose GP9, so you'd be hard pressed to find one that's all clean. So it's kind of nice. I like the different skins that are available. They look pretty cool. Should be same bells, buttons, and whistles. Yep. Now, where did I have an SD40? I don't remember. I do remember. There's an SD40 right there. Hop off and swap. Over to the SD40s. Not bad. Not bad at all. Do the details. Display, enable editing. Whoops. Where'd it go? Oh well. Display. Oh, there it is. Cab lights, walkway lights, headlights, number boards, windows, doors, wired inside visors. A little bit more on these. Skins. Nice and clean. A little bit dirty. A lot of it dirty. I like it. I like it a lot. So now that we've looked at all the locomotives that are available, let's have a little bit of fun. So let's operate on the route for a little bit, because why not? So we've got our heritage train set up here with the heritage cars, and then Trainz Forge's 10 Peaks Railway number 9, because why not? I thought it was a fitting locomotive. And let's oogie and boogie along the route for a little bit. Now, don't let the 40 mile an hour deceive you. It's just because we haven't passed a speed limit sign yet. Most of the route is going to be the typical 20, 25, 30 in some spots, like you see here. We're coming up on a 30 mile an hour mark. But pretty much under 30 is going to be the average speed limit along most of the route, which is fine. Again, it's not a huge route, and it's pretty typical speed limit for areas like this, so pretty much what I expect. The ends of these cars are flat photo textures. It's kind of obvious. See, look at it, look at this. We got a dude walking across here. That big rail trail. It would have been cool to have somebody doing that up there. Now, one might ask, why didn't you use one of the new locomotives included? Well, I don't like diesels all that much. I don't care for modern diesels that much. They're not my boat to float in Trainz. Trainz is big draw to me. It's a huge variety of North American steam locomotives available. So, that's what we're using. Lots of points along the map, though, where you can set up the camera like this. And watch as the train goes by, which is very nice. I like these camera views. It's one of my favorite parts about Eagle River is the fact that you can set up and have the different camera views automatically pan in different places. One unfortunate part is there's not any auto triggers for AI locomotives, so there's not any whistle markers and whatnot that auto trigger for the AI. Kind of sad about that. It kind of is what it is, though. It's not a particularly hard thing to go through and swap these out with the auto trigger horn boards. .20 mile an hour spot. See, lots of scenes like this that just look really good along the route. This is a fun scene right here. This looks good. Good picture. Might be nice to reskin some more cars for the RPMP though. A nicer variety of passenger cars, maybe with some newer cars. It's very painfully obvious how 2D-esque these cars look. They're very flat. They're not the worst in the world look-wise, but they're flat. They're definitely flat. That's kind of noticeable. Oh my gosh, fat cat. Yeah? Why? One of those camera views, I think it auto triggers. It's alright. I think it's meant for the other line though. As you can see, whole route runs pretty nice, and it's not flat. There are grades you got to pay attention to, so if you're one of those that likes to run in the cab on Trainz, it could prove to be challenging, especially in a steam locomotive. I'll just come up here to the station and call it cool. You guys can get a pretty good idea on how the rest of the route operates from this, I think. Again, nice and smooth. Grades overall, there's no like weird jerkiness or anything. Big thing to notice on routes like this where there's a lot of ups and downs. It's really noticeable whenever those ups and downs are not smooth. Cars will jerk up and down. It's weird looking, but whoops. Oh, that is my number 2 camera. Definitely on the wrong side of the track, but oh well, that's okay. And there we are, guys. Short little run on the new Coal Country 2.0. But yeah, I think it's an awesome route. They did a great job overall. Be a hard one to say no to. But it is available on Jointed Rail's website, not Steam. So for those of you that are mad that it's not a free upgrade to the Steam, get over it, I guess. Don't know what to tell you. But it is available on Jointed Rail's website. I will put the link in the description. Definitely go check it out. I think it's absolutely worth it. It is a massive upgrade over the old one. Yeah, I don't think there's really anything else to say. So, anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Definitely go check it out, and I will see you next time.